Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
You know, the odd thing is that normally there's a little thing that pops up in the corner that says recording. Instead
Oh,
of,
it didn't this time?
no,
They must
no,
have made
not
some
this time.
upgrades.
Yeah, they must have. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter. Over there is Rich. Over on the other side is Mark. And he may look nice, but he may look friendly. But if he doesn't recognize your scent, he will bite. The K-Man.
Hello.
So what's been going on, boys?
Nothing. Work.
Ah,
So much work.
Yeah, same for me. Rich, you were bringing up something earlier yesterday, I think, on in the email chain. You were talking about 40K or Warhammer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple things. I mean,
Yeah, you
there's
said something about Games Workshop was done for.
What?
not done for. My question was, is, do you guys feel that they're pulling away from being a toy soldier / miniatures game company and becoming an IP company, and that now there are other companies kind of moving in to fill that space, that their focus is no longer on making the best toy soldiers and games they can, because it seems like a lot of the stuff that they're producing lately, say the Horus Heresy, Age of Sigmar, the Old World, and Warhammer, are pretty much built in. They used to be separate games, so when you played Warhammer, it's pretty much nothing or not very much other than the stat line that was similar between that game and 40K. They were very separated in terms of gameplay. But
Right.
Indeed.
All right. Say no more. Say no more. Let
Please.
me answer you.
Where did it cut off?
Oh, did it cut off? Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's right where you
So
said
now it
stat
seems
line.
like from stat line. Okay. So the only thing that was really similar between them was the stat line, but the gameplay was different. The way you played Warhammer was much different than the way you played 40K. But now it seems like they're trying to merge it all into one game system that just reskinned for each game, which leads me to believe that that's really not their focus anymore. They're trying to become an IP / entertainment lifestyle brand company.
Now, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying.
Finish.
No. Let me jump in real quick though. Like Warlord Games with their bolt action, and they did Gates of Antares and Conflict 47 uses the same system across their different games. That can be, I think, a viable strategy of now I don't have to learn a new system to jump into this other game. So it's not necessarily we're abandoning wargaming as much as making, if you know how to play one, you can jump into the other as an option. Go.
Okay. I see.
I challenge you to
we'll address
assault
that.
my unassailable logic.
We will address that. My point being is that the complaints that are coming out about the latest version of 40K, the 10th edition, no less, is that the game is being geared more and more to kind of just be, you own the best army, very video gamey. You own the best army, you pay to play, and off you go. And it seems like their focus on the studio, which used to be the head, that used to be the big thing in Games Workshop. It seems to be drawing back from that, and now it's more about the marketing and where can we push this product into video games and movies, and cartoons and comic books and all sorts of other things, where that used to be the sideline and the games were the front line. It seems like that's turning around.
Well, you know, they actually, I mean, if you remember, they used to actually fight against putting things out in anything other than the game side of it. If they're smart, and I don't know where on the curve they are at these days, but if they're smart, embracing the IP side, I think would be the best move, or could be the best move. So, you can license out and just control the message and have a lot of other people do the work and really, really expand your reach and your brand and all of that. And speaking from purely business side of it.
Yeah. But I've never. I agree with you. And even back in the day, I remember we were always told that we're an intellectual property company. We're not a game company. We're not a toy soldier company. I mean, that was the push after the late 90s that, IP, IP. And I understand that. To your point, yes, that is a business strategy. I've never seen it done successfully by any company.
No?
No. Look at, say, Wizards
Harry
of the
Potter.
Coast. Harry Potter is
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the
Winnie
Rings.
the Pooh.
No.
Dune.
Rich is talking about game mechanics being the same across the different versions of a game.
Well, that's a different
IP
point.
related.
Sean put me off on a tangent. My question is,
well, that was the question you asked. Put you on a tangent. I answered the question you asked, man.
No, I didn't ask a question yet. I still haven't finished my initial statement to make a point. My point is, do you think that the excitement over these other game companies, like, as Mark mentioned, Conflict 47, like Trench Crusade, like some of the others that are coming out now, is because the space for them has been left open by Games Workshop, that people now are looking for alternatives because their focus has shifted away from toy soldier gaming, and now these other toy soldier companies are kind of filling gap because nature abhors a vacuum, as we all know.
I will answer that question as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There you are. I think that if you're wise and you realize just how easy it's become for someone else to make really cool models in your vein, in what you've made, and that's been the way for a while now, since 3D printing and all of that became a thing, and so many other people discovered Skybore and all those things from back in the day to what is available now. If you're a company like Games Workshop and you think, okay, I had the market cornered for all this toy stuff before. Now it's become the Wild West because there's so much opportunity for people to make their own and bring out their own product and their own IPs and, expand them. What's the one thing we have in our favor that they don't? And that's your IP has been out there longer and has a greater fan base. And anybody else who's trying to make something as cool and as in-depth and immersive as what we have is going to have to essentially rip us off in some way, right? So if you're smart, you take that for what it is and you decide, all right, where's our money going to come from? Where's our focus? Where should it be? It shouldn't be in toy soldiers and stuff as much anymore. Sure, you can still do that, but you can license that stuff out. You can keep it in house. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you expand it out into all those other things, taking advantage of the same platforms that everyone else does, now I think you're exploring avenues of exposure and money making opportunity that they never did before. I think it dovetails into the same thing as what I was talking about before. So others can try to jump into it, but they're essentially, taking the scraps of what Games Workshop left behind.
The leavings, if you will, I think is what it's called in business.
Yeah, exactly. Sloppy seconds.
I think that a couple of good movies, like there's a couple of Marvel movies that have made $1 billion in sales on their own. So a couple of good movies, a couple of good intellectual properties put out in mass market media like shows or movies can dwarf the entire tabletop industry in revenue. So them going to IP, I get it. It makes sense. Like, you built this thing and people want more of it. So Mazel Tov, go for it. However, I think Rich is 100% right. They are shooting themselves in the foot on the tabletop side. Like, hey, let's redesign all of our models so you can't just swap out shoulder pads and heads and guns like you used to all the way up through, early mid 2000s, I think it was. The way the boxes were made, it was like, oh, here's your weapon arms and whatnot. And it was really easy to get these third-party bits. I don't believe for a second that the current Space Marine redesigns are manufactured the way they are because that's the most efficient way to fit models on a sprue. I think it's to make it harder to swap out those shoulder pads for third-party bits and swap out this head for that head because they're not making them easy that way. And so you're right, with 3D printing, people are coming out with amazing figures, amazing bits. It's only going to get worse from a tabletop production standpoint. It's so easy to get really cool models now. GW was always head and shoulders above everybody else for a long time. I don't think that's the case anymore. I really don't. You can find some amazing figures that you can get the STL and print as many as you want. If you know your way around some 3D software, you can repose them. You can do all kinds, add bits, print your own bits. Like it's going to be a really interesting next 10 years. Yeah, I think that I don't think they're going to get out of the tabletop business. I mean, that'd be dumb. It's essentially, you're still a dominant market force, but I think there's other decisions being made that are not tabletop focused and they're more IP focused, and including sicking their lawyers on people. Because when you said that's the one thing that they have, I was like, yeah, they got an army of lawyers that they can sick on people and have proven somewhat heavy-handed in their efforts. And again, I get it. U.S. copyright law, if you do not defend your copyright, you can lose it, right? And so the law in the U.S. is you have to affirmatively defend things. So there's some wackiness in the law that maybe some other people don't understand. But there's also like, we're going to sue all these people and everybody and claiming ownership of things that are, like Space Marine, right? Those two words together are not unique, have been used for decades before Games Workshop ever came along, et cetera, and the whole Chapter House studio lawsuit, et cetera. But I feel like that's getting worse and it's only going to get worse. And if you're in the tabletop space, right, this is a small space, relatively speaking, and you're going to run into all the same people and this, that, and the other. And to be the big corporate outsider who just happens to have the best IP, I think that speaks to the popularity of Conflict 47 and Trench Crusade and some of these other things. And I'm going to go on record and say that Battletech Gothic is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. It's like, let's throw the 40K, scenery on top of Battletech. Like that, I don't get that. I thought it was a joke, and then I saw it for sale, and I was like, wait, they were serious? I think that's one of the dumbest things ever. But, hey, whatever. If people are buying it, good for them. That's all I have to say about that.
K-Man, any thoughts?
Look, man, I stopped playing the tabletop game of Warhammer back in the 90s, man. The thing is...
As did I, by the way.
That... I think 40K as a tabletop, the tabletop genre itself is cost prohibitive to most folks, right? And I agree with Mark. I mean, they'll never get out of it. I think it would be dumb to get out of it completely. But there's also that idea that it is not the biggest cash cow you have. And so to serve the emperor, as it were, IP is the thing that you have, and that's what you're going to push forward. Now, Games Workshop has done... I mean, they've been very protective of their IP, but they have not done a whole heck of a lot, in my opinion, to really make as much as they can with it. I mean, they were kind of late to the video game world. But they've started to churn out the books.
That Fire Warrior game was a smash hit.
I thought you were done talking.
Sorry, I had to.
No, I think the right move is to lean on the IP a bit, even as ridiculous as some of it is. But I also think that you need to know when the market is ready to pass you by. And to everybody's point here about 3D printing and that kind of thing, there's a point at which you are no longer being top dog in the miniature world. But you can maintain the one thing that you had that, brought everybody in, and that's the IP that you have. It's the story you have to sell, and do something with that. Let other people do the work, as one of you said earlier. I don't remember who it was, but I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense. I mean, you'll still control something, but also to Mark's point, if they moved on from the idea of allowing players to modify miniatures and things like that, I mean, you are sort of hoisting yourself by your own petard on that one. Because if you try to make it difficult, people will find a way around it, especially today. So,
Well, I will say, I will add on to that to say, I think two things. Only if, and that's for both the hoisting yourself on your own petard thing, as well as staying in the tabletop business, as long as you can make money at it. As
yeah,
soon as it becomes, no longer profitable to do so, because you got a billion different little piranhas out there making their own things and able to sell stuff way cheaper than you can, they're going to stop doing it, and they're just going to focus entirely on the IP.
yeah.
And
I mean, the prices
what
are what they are. I mean, they're not charging what they're charging uh, because of anything other than the fact that it is not a cheap process to make these things, and they're trying to make as much money as they can off it
Mhm.
because they know that it's not a high volume sell. You know,
Yeah.
when you're a couple $100 into trying to put together a squad of something to go play a game, you got a really small market to play with. So,
Yeah.
they're up against it already.
And it is very much like a mobile game in that way, as Rich was talking about. The focus has kind of changed to that. It is very much like a mobile game, and in that sense, mobile games don't want to keep everybody around. They don't really want the free to play people. They want the dolphins and the whales, the ones who are gonna, give them some cash. So the focus for that is going to be more in that realm. And if you can join that, great. If not, then you'll have to join the group that buys like Space Marine 2 and plays that and then does some microtransactions, or, buys a subscription to Amazon Prime to watch the series when it comes out there, or, that kind of thing.
But that's also the
And
thing that's drawing people in, though. I mean, because when you go play a game of Space Marine, right? I mean, or 40K, you've got this idea in your head of how this game is playing out on the tabletop, right? I mean, you're charging into battle, you're rolling dice, you're hoping X happens, and you've got this thing in your head. What the video game allows you to do, what the books have put out, is they put out this more immersive environment than what you get off the tabletop,
Mhm.
and that's what people want to get into. And so I think when Space Marine came out, you were like, hell yes, that's what a chainsword should sound like. That's what it should look like as I slice through orcs left, right, and center. And that's what people want to go into.
Right. Or
I
that
think it's
Dawn of
actually
War
right.
intro that came out years before that, where it wasn't the game, but it was that whole Orcs versus Space Marines.
Yeah.
Like that, I think was the first piece of media where we're like, yeah, that's it. That's what was in our head.
Or you're looking
Mhm.
at the cover of Rogue Trader, and you got all the what are they, the Crimson Fist were on the cover? Is that what it was?
Crimson
Yeah.
Fist, yeah.
Yeah. And you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, I've got to, it feeds the fantasy image of what this warfare looks like. And then you go to this really static tabletop environment. I think them leaning on IP and going in a different direction actually makes a lot of sense. And Rich, to your point, I mean, are other people going to try to come in and fill the void? Well, yeah, they will. But like, to Mark's point, they're all still going to be chasing the behemoth in the room, which is 40K. They're all trying to be 40K.
Yeah, yeah. No one's gonna catch Amazon.com in the e-commerce space. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of people who set up a new store and they want to be there and Walmart's doing okay, but Amazon's Amazon. And I feel like Games Workshop is in the tabletop space. Who's gonna be bigger and better than them? And again, they keep shooting themselves in the foot and 3D printing and some things change. Like that could change. Like look what D&D did to itself with the
Yeah,
whole, here's a
Well,
new edition and
you're
we're
getting
gonna
to
rescind
what
this
I'm talking
license, et
about.
cetera, et cetera. Like I feel like D&D is on its way to no longer being the big dog in the room, and they did it to themselves. That could happen to Games Workshop, but
sure.
the models are cool, the
You
armies are plentiful. There's a like, and you want fantasy, we got you. You want sci-fi, we got you. Like there's so much going on in the Games Workshop game space. Like, who's got more figures for a retailer to sell? Nobody.
well, you're
Right? You
getting
You
could
know,
fill up an entire wall of Games Workshop and sell it all day long.
you're
I
getting
just realized how the perspective on these cameras on that we use is kind of janky and off a little bit because my hand looks huge. compared to my head, just so you know. My hand
You're
and
getting
my
you're getting
wrists look ginormous and comic bookish. So I just wanted to point that out
That's
real
right.
quick.
you're getting
You
to what I
look,
was
you look a
talking
little
about,
bit like
Mark.
Carl, the neighbors from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Carl Brutalowski. You're getting to what I was talking about, Mark. That's actually why I brought up this point. You made the relationship to D&D and how they've kind of fell into a pit of their own making. And I'm wondering if Games Workshop, because they're no longer focusing on the gameplay experience, because it's not what they're looking at making the most money out of anymore on the tabletop, and that's being noticed by people who are really into it. And I know you guys don't play the tabletop. Well, Mark, you do a bit, but
Mark's
Sean and
stupid,
Kelly
though.
don't. But I do, and there's a definite rumbling amidst the people that are really into it that the quality has dropped off, and you see it in things like with the artwork on the codexes, and the fact that they still make codexes and then get rid, make them useless after a couple of months of them being out. That the models, like Mark brought up, aren't optimized per frame on how you build them. All little things like that in the past may have been things that were an aspiration of quality. It's like, oh, we're going to make this better, we're going to do this better. It's not they can't do it, they're just not interested in doing it anymore, because they know that this is not going to be their primary funding source in the future.
Yeah,
and
right.
Other companies are doing it better, because even though they're smaller scale and nowhere near the profitability of Games Workshop at the present, they're doing things like optimizing the sprues and giving away the army books online, but and having living rule books and things like that, that never make their purchase is never out of date, so you can always use your stuff. That's something that model has been thrown away by Games Workshop, to like, oh, you need the FOMO, you need the latest thing, and now this thing's come out, so you got to replace this thing. They did it with the Primaris, which some people like, some people don't. I'm really very neutral on the Primaris. They did a good job in how they integrated them, but it was very obvious to me that they're saying, "Oh, well, we're not getting rid of the first founding." Okay, sure.
I don't think the Primaris can be trusted.
I agree. And if that was that's what Gabriel Seth thinks from the Flesh Terrors, and if that was wrapped into the lore, it makes them much more interesting, right? And that's how they were in the beginning. You've all read these books about the Primaris, that the first founding guys didn't, or the first generation guys didn't trust them. Like, oh, who are these Johnny come latelys? They don't have any training, they don't have any experience. They're not real Space Marines. They're just Call's monstrosities, right? But now they've gotten away from that, and now everything's Primaris because they've replaced everything, and it's not even an issue anymore, which makes sense in a lore perspective, I guess. But it's stuff like that they could continue that kind of drama in the background where they still aren't trusted, because they might have some chaos gene seed in there. But it's neither here nor there. It's just that you guys brought up, and Mark specifically, with the mention of Dungeons and Dragons, which has really fallen down a deep hole of their own making, and where no one thought that D&D could ever be replaced back in the era of 3.5. It was the hot thing. And now here we are in fifth edition, Mark? Or which
Fifth
edition?
edition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, look, I think the thing, there's industries that age out of themselves, right? I mean, like Kodak came up with the digital camera. They they thought of it first, they designed it first, and then they tried to shut it down because they're like, this is going to threaten our business model.
Yeah.
And where the hell is Kodak today?
Yeah.
We look at what Halo was in the beginning, and awesome epic games, game after game, and then Call of Duty comes along with Treyarch and Activision, and they're churning out games every year, and that's their model, is we need to do this every year, and then all the microtransactions come in. Games Workshop and others turning out codexes like other people change underpants. It's just like they're just trying to get on this. Okay, we new content. and it's not going to work. I mean, and at some point, you gotta understand that the industry ages out of itself. The days of tabletop wargaming is more of a niche thing than it is an everyday endeavor. More people are engaging with things electronically, and so where's your bread and butter? You know, and you got to understand the storyline is it, man. That's the thing you've got. You can sell books. People will engage with an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a PC, or what have you. You know, you get a few folks that still roll dice, like yourself, Rich. But you know, I don't know. I mean, I just think that's it. I think it's a smart move. I think it would hurt them in the long run if they keep trying to do something that there's just not a lot of interest in.
Well, and I agree with you 100%, Kelly. And by the way, not only is Kelly right and this conversation over, but
All right, this great session,
night,
guys.
everybody.
See you later. Yeah.
I've been
But
put in my place.
I also
How
wanted
dare
to
I?
say, well, no, you asked a question.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
asked
I
a
know.
question. Now
I
you're
know, I'm being
you're
facetious.
educated. The no, the other part of it is D&D is not as classic and I don't know, ubiquitous as the knowledge of at least the name of D&D is. It is not Warhammer in any
No,
way.
it's not.
If you put the two up there as to which is cooler to the general public, I'm not talking about fanboys, but if you put it up to the general public, people who aren't familiar with them, and say, which one do you think has more possibility for cool stories? You know damn well 40K is going to always come out on top in
for
that
now.
battle. Huh?
For now, that's my point. Is that it's going down that same.
D&D's never going to be the same.
Not
cool
No,
anymore.
but he's saying
that
it's going to be
40K
replaced by
is.
some third thing.
Well, no, not that. That it's following the same downward spiral that D&D did.
No,
it's
no.
trying to
What
appease
I'm
to that mass
saying,
market.
what I'm saying is it can't, because D&D was predicated on using mythical creatures and settings and stuff that had been in the lore for a long time. 40K was a different thing, kind of like Star Wars, which was something people hadn't seen or experienced before, simply because the setting was so different.
You know, that's what
So
40K needs is a gelatinous cube.
yeah, exactly. It needs, yeah, exactly. Or an owl bear. That's what it needs. But 40K has something that D&D does not, which is that cool factor. You know, that Blade Runner-esque kind of, you know,
Look,
darkness
40K
kind of thing.
has Henry Cavill. D&D has Stephen Colbert. I rest my case.
It has Jeremy Irons. That's what
D&D has Chris
Jeremy
Pine.
Irons. Jeremy Irons.
No, I'm talking about who plays it, not who was in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so I don't see 40K going that way. Yes, they could screw themselves over. Sure. Everybody could. You could screw yourself over and just absolutely demolish what you've done. But I just don't see that happening.
Well, I think it's to the point that Mark was making earlier, is that, you know, if Games Workshop is so aggressively litigious in things, and I mean, and there's a place to be litigious, and then there's a place to just let things walk, because, you know, allowing somebody to do a thing without directly giving your blessing still sort of moves your product forward. But I think if they're going to go the route of they're going to start to crumble like Dungeons and Dragons did, it'll be in the litigious side of the world.
They're heading for the Disney level of litigiousness.
And here's one of the things, like, D&D was started by TSR, and it held in close, and there was some mismanagement there, and Wizards of the Coast ended up purchasing them, and then Hasbro comes along and buys Wizards of the Coast, and now Hasbro, the corporate overlord, it's just one tiny little division of them, and they don't necessarily care about it. They're like, Magic makes a lot of money, which is probably the reason they bought Wizards of the Coast anyway. And now they got the C&D thing, and of course they came along and they're like, we need to monetize this, and what if we rescind the license? And that was all corporate decision making that blew that up.
Mm-hmm.
Games Workshop started 40K Warhammer, and they're like, let's do a space version in 40K, and they're still Games Workshop. They haven't been gobbled up by anybody else. Yeah, they might have some outside investors, but But there's a difference between, I'm Hasbro and I own this tiny little property over here, along with my dozens of other intellectual property that I can do things with, like G.I. Joe and Strawberry Shortcake, and waiting for that movie to come out. It's going to be great.
That crossover.
Yeah, that crossover. The crossover we didn't know we needed. Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Games Workshop is still Games Workshop, and it always has been an in-house property. It's arguable when now that the corporate people have come in and it's no longer gamers running it. I think that's where we're running into some of these issues.
Yeah.
But the company hasn't changed hands. The IP has not changed hands. It's not somebody who like, I'm sure there's people there who are old school 40K players, from our generation that are still working at the company and love it. I'm not sure there's anybody on the Hasbro board that is a huge D&D fan or is in a position of authority to steer the brand, if that makes sense.
Very cogent point. I agree.
Yep, I agree. So there we are. We're settled. We're all agreed.
We're all agreed now.
Are your anxieties quelled, Rich?
I don't have any anxiety. I brought the question up because I thought it was an interesting.
Well,
it is
a dumb question. I hope you learned your lesson.
I think no.
Right,
I wanted to see.
But going to the competitors, like Trench Crusade is miniature agnostic. They don't put out miniatures. I think they're going to, but they're going to offer STL so that you can put your own, or maybe some company can.
No, they do put out miniatures. They produce. They're going to be producing plastic.
Right, and because that's what people want. Because we'd be like, I can go like spend 10 days printing these figures and throw away the ones that didn't turn out well and clean up all your, like, there's a whole thing to 3D printing. It's not like printing out something on a sheet of paper. I get it. And we want miniatures, but the point is they're not the only ones who make miniatures for that game. They're embracing the fact that all of these other digital sculptors can make miniatures for this game. It's miniature agnostic.
Correct.
Which is the complete different approach. What if 40K was like, you know what, guys, we're going to open the sandbox. If you want to put some new armies that, we've been around for 40,000 years. There's all these alien races. Like, let's go. There's all these, breakaways that got separated from the Imperium during the long night. And now they're back and they went along different routes. Like, how many people could come up with some really cool stuff if 40K embraced something like that? And I'm not at saying that they should do that or whatever, but these other games are like, yeah, okay, you want to come up with some cool figures, like, here's our rules, go. Or there's a community license that lets them do that, and you pay, like one of the role-playing ones I was looking at, it's like, yeah, it's $50 for this license, and I'm like, $50, that keeps away the riffraff. It's just high enough of a barrier that someone who's like, oh, I want to write this thing, you got to pay $50 for the license to play in that sandbox. That is not insurmountable for anybody who wants to go do a thing. But it's also not like free, because when the OGL came out for D&D and 3rd edition, boy, was there a lot of slop published in that time frame. But the good stuff, we got some companies that are still in business today that came out of that era. So Mongoose Publishing being one of them, and they've got the license for Traveler and some other games. So,
All right. I have another question for you, gentlemen. I wanted to see what you think about this. I've had a discussion with some of my compatriots at work. We were discussing this. Do you think that men having beards look wiser than men without beards?
I have no opinion.
Yes.
Depends on the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Rich's response. Very well said.
Depends on the man. So you take any man and you put a beard on him. You don't think people are going to give him 2 points of wisdom just off the bat?
What kind of beard are we talking about? Are we talking about like a long sort of going crocodile?
Gandalf build, ZZ Top beard.
Going like a Van Dyke? What do we got going on?
Does it matter? In all honesty, does it matter?
Yeah, because some beards make people look sinister. Some beards make people look dumb.
But sinister does not mean not wise.
I'm not
'Cause
playing
I-
your word games this morning, Sean.
No, because they
Oh, yes,
brought
you
that
are.
up too. They brought that up too. They said, well, but some aren't, some just look evil and that kind of. I said, evil doesn't mean they're not wise. I said, what about my beard? They said, yeah, you look evil. I said, yes, but wise evil. And he said, well, okay, yeah. He said, it looks like you're ready to like plot to take over the world, but you could be beaten by a team, right?
I
And
stand
I
by
said,
my statement.
and I said, only if someone on that team has a beard.
That's
So
right.
that they have the wise
And
leader.
sinister is mustache. Beard is wise.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Right.
And let me give you the example that popped into my head as we were talking about this. Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastard, clean shaven. Christoph Waltz in Django Unchained, beard.
Mm-hmm.
He went from evil, clean shaven, to killing bad guys
What?
with the beard. He was the good
Okay.
guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Stand by my statement.
But that is it. But in all seriousness, that you can see the same actor, clean shaven with a beard, and compare side by side and be like, which one do you feel is wiser? And I feel like this man rolling into town on his little wagon with a tooth flopping around on top is clearly a wise disguise to get in amongst his prey.
Rich seems unconvinced, but
I'm not convinced. I've seen plenty of people who are not sharp tools with beards.
I'm not saying that's not
putting the
what
beard
I'm
on them
saying.
didn't make them any
what
more
I'm
wise.
What I'm saying is the same person without a beard and with a beard. You put those pictures before people and say which one seems wiser.
Okay, so
people are stupid. The generalization.
That's not my
people.
That's not my question. My question is not, are people stupid? My question is, if you put a beard on anyone, will people think they are wiser? Not are they wiser, not are they good? Will people believe the person to be wiser because
right? So the person with a beard does not get a +2 to their wisdom attribute.
Right.
The person viewing the person with a beard, they get +2 to their perception of wisdom.
Correct. Yeah.
It's a disguise skill. It's a disguise skill. That's what it is. That's what you're missing.
I'd give it a -2 to perception of wisdom because I mean you're making a generalization of somebody's acumen based on facial hair, and that's just stupid. Because I'm sorry,
there have been studies about that.
I shaved yesterday,
and you look less wise.
And you lost wisdom.
I don't want to listen to you at all today.
You don't want to listen to anyone any day.
What?
You don't want to listen to anyone any day.
I don't. For me, no. The
I'll just keep repeating it till you
the
respond.
existence of facial hair does not move the needle one way or the other.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that a beard does make you feel.
See, I think they're misunderstanding the question. They're misunderstanding the question.
No,
right,
I understand the
right.
question.
They're choosing to
I
misunderstand the question because their beards are not full enough.
I know they lack the wisdom to understand the question.
Yes,
and a whip with a little salt and pepper gray in there. That is the winner.
I know that's the thing. That's the thing I told them. But what are you going to do? It's not about are they wiser. It's not about are they wiser to you. It's about do they appear wiser to the general populace.
Yeah, but the general populace is also goofy. So
that's not my question.
Right.
I could ask you the same
hung
thing.
up on these tangential items.
Listen, I could ask the same thing about suits. Why do people wear suits? Suits are worn because they give the appearance of professionalism. If you ask me, does it denote professionalism? No. I don't care about a suit. Matter of fact, I've known more people who were rip-off artists who have no skill or acumen for whatever they profess, and yet they wear a suit because they know that allows them to gain the perception of, so that they don't have to work that hard to convince other people.
I'm going to use my wisdom and say you've swayed me. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Next question.
All right.
Why?
And
It
thus
worked.
Swayed my opinion.
the
100%.
smugness of success.
I don't even
I'm
know why I
sorry.
resisted.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Kelly.
I said the smugness of success on Sean's face, knowing that he's won.
I don't even know why I
Smugness on
resisted.
my face. No, that's just how I look. See, that's the perception of smugness.
That's called resting bitch face.
That's the perception of evil smugness mixed with wisdom that is given by the
There you go.
beard with that
Yep.
gray right here.
Correct.
That lets you know there's evil that resides in the heart.
100%. Yes.
So is that why guys who can't grow beards feel really self-conscious about it? Is because
Yes.
they know they can't
They'll never be
accomplish
wise.
that perception.
You know, that made, I don't know, that's actually a good question, because I know in Japan, for instance, beards are frowned upon because they feel that they cannot grow that full beard that they see in so many other cultures around the
Right.
world. So it is frowned upon there. But ironically, if you see an Asian guy with that beard, that wispy kind of beard, that long wispy beard, that does to us denote many times, they must be wise, ancient, masters of whatever their philosophy or art happens to be.
With that Pai Mei,
Right,
long white
exactly.
beard. Yeah.
Yeah, that Pai Mei thing. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of, you're right, Kelly. That's kind of what I was getting at, is the perception of that others have, not real. Not that it's real or that it's imagined, just the perception seems to be there, for that particular image.
Yes, the Unabomber looked very wise. He did.
I'm not familiar. So
I only saw the artist rendering, so I don't know.
Never seen a picture of him?
Yeah, he looks like our father's friend Terry.
Very wise. Like I said, I don't know why I resisted.
Him, Charles Manson, some of the wisest elder statesmen ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, you take
us
the
with their
beard.
beards.
You take the beard off Charlie Manson. Does he have a cult? I think not.
Right, there you go.
He was clean shaven when he had his cult, wasn't he?
No, he grew
No,
the
now
beard.
you're just making shit up.
He grew
He
the
was
beard
scruffy.
and grew his cult.
Kind of like
Hold
Jesus.
As the beard grew, his power grew. See?
Mm-hmm. That's right. I wonder how many of the 12 apostles were clean shaven. Judas, perhaps?
See? There's...
So men without beards more likely to betray you.
Yeah, more likely. So yeah, I buy that. No, or at least have the perception of
Perception of betrayal.
of betrayal. That's right. So, all right. Well, I just wanted to run it by you because we were having a big discussion, and I thought, let me get the sage input of three
Let's
other
bring in some
men,
professionals.
three other men who also sport beards of wisdom.
When Charles Manson was arrested, he was beardless.
Yeah, but where does beard grow?
In prison.
Only in prison. He never had a beard ever before in his life.
I'm looking at pictures of him when he was a hippie.
In the
cult
5
leader, he had
minutes
no beard.
before and after his arrest, he happened to be clean shaven. That's like saying if the police
No,
kicked down Kelly's door right
before-
now and arrested him,
He was
that
a
Kelly
hippie.
never had a beard in his whole life.
He was a hippie in every aspect except he had to keep that face
Or it could be
clean.
that a very prominent set of murders that linked right back to your door just happened. And he's like, maybe I should try to disguise my appearance by shaving off this wise beard.
This wise beard. And all his
I think
followers
the
became
swastika
disillusioned.
on his head probably gave him away. But
No, that happened in prison.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have that at the time.
All that happened in prison. Before that, he wore suits.
Let's say
and
you're
had a
right.
beard.
Let's say he didn't have a beard at the time of his arrest, or at any point up until then. He saw the wisdom of a beard after his incarceration. He learned from his mistakes, if you will.
That's right.
See, like I said, I agree with Sean in all aspects. So I don't know why we're even talking about
That is a
this
wise
anymore.
policy decision.
WWSD.
And one
What we trying
I
to do.
try to live my life by.
Yep. 100%.
All right. Well, that's a great note to end this this episode on, and I think one that we can all buy into. And I'm glad that Rich, now you'll be living your life in joy, happiness, finding fulfillment.
So happy.
And I think your soul will be just bursting at the seams. You'll find that the windows of heaven shall open, that the blessings cannot fit through that window because they're so fat and juicy.
So if Games Workshop were to come out with a Space Marine model on a sprue
Yeah.
that had a beard
Yeah.
on the helmet,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the helmet.
Then
Yep.
Games Workshop would reclaim dominance in the miniature world
Yes.
forever.
I believe the
Yeah,
Votan
obviously.
already have that.
Yeah, they should put them on their Titans also.
I believe
Yep.
the Votan already have beards on the outside of their helmets. They're sculpted onto the armor, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. That's right. They know what's up.
Yeah. Wisdom.
I know the AOS guys do. They're flying dwarfs. They have.
Maybe that's why I don't like the
sculpted
Emperor.
beards.
He doesn't have a beard. I don't perceive him
There.
as wise.
You
That's
see?
oh, you know what? You've hit the nail right on the head.
Maybe
The
that's what it
wisdom
is.
of your beard, Kelly, the wisdom of that scruff on your face in that observation, golden. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yep.
I don't think Sanguinius did either, and look what happened to him.
Right.
Yeah.
He could see the future.
Yep. Every successful Primarch had a beard.
The lion, he has a beard.
Mm-hmm. He has a beard.
Beautiful
He didn't,
mane.
but he does now. Yeah.
Corn.
That means
beard.
he has a beard.
First you didn't, then you did.
Anyway. All right, boys. Well, thank you very much. I loved this conversation. I loved it so much. And I love you, Rich. I want you to know that. My beard
I agree
and
with that too.
we're full of love for you, and all the juice is dripping onto you from those blessings. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And I will see you next time.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.
I don't agree.